Hi, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 18 of SteamLUG Cast. We're recording this on the 5th of September 2014. My name is Cheese, and with me I have Namoda.
Hi there.
Cockfight.
Hello.
And special guest, Mevious.
Hi, good to be here.
Welcome. Before we start, we might have a quick run through of what we've been playing lately. Namoda, what have you been up to?
Well, Portal 2, obviously. Getting the maps going and doing a lot of that. Recording videos, which has been pretty fun. And, let's see what else. Transportation Tycoon a little bit. We have this new game, Train Fever, that's supposed to come out, I don't know, another month or two. So I kind of got back into the old transportation style games.
Nice. What about you, Cockfight?
Hexcel's infinite because it gets me that poontang. I love Hexcel's, man. I can't help it. My wife loves that game.
Yeah, I recently got a copy. I'm really looking forward to checking it out.
I hope you enjoy it.
No, thanks, man. You been playing anything else?
Left 4 Dead 2 and the Portal, man. The mapping challenge you guys had.
Sweet.
What you been playing?
I've been playing some Portal 2, obviously, and I found a little bit of time to stream some Crypto the Necrodancer, which I haven't done in ages.
You got that working with the new recording software, didn't you?
Yeah. So I finally got OBS Studio working. I don't know what changed, but a git pull sorted out what was going on. So yeah, it's all good.
Nice.
Still a bit rough around the edges, but it's usable at least. At Mevious, what have you been playing?
I've been a little bit obsessed with this game called Five Nights at Freddy's. Just realizing now that I don't think it has Linux support, which might be breaking your rules, but
No, it's fine.
I've been streaming it on my Twitch channel a little bit. I'm terrible at it, but I'm obsessed with it at the same time.
Nice.
And of course, I've been playing through some of the Portal maps for the competition.
So on that topic, we might cover that first. We just closed voting on our Portal 2 mapping challenge, which we ran for 2 and a bit weeks at the end of August. We had, 7 single-player maps and 7 co-op maps were submitted. Yeah, what are people's thoughts, like, before we talk about what the voting results have shown? I'm curious to know what everybody's favourites were. Namoda, what did you enjoy out of the batch?
Well, on the single-player side, I thought Leo's map was pretty good. It's one of the few that really made me think about what I was doing more than just kind of running around trying everything, and I thought that was cool. Corbin's map was pretty good, but the timing was kind of tricky.
And you just finished playing them as well, Linux, then. What did you think? Or Cockfight, sorry.
I thought Corbin's Mongo Test Chamber 1 was amazing. It was just simple, and at the same time, it was so hard to find the answer. But yet, it was right there in front of your face. I loved it.
Sadly, that was one that I didn't get to play. I didn't have much time to go through the single-player maps. But yeah,
it'll rattle your brain.
And Mevious, which ones did you find particularly interesting?
The one that sticks out in my mind is the one called Brain Melter. I think that's the name of it. But
yeah.
It uses world portals, and it makes it very confusing. I got stuck in like the first couple seconds because the solution, it was just like an endless hallway, and the solution was turn around and walk the other direction. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
It's a really nice
I don't see
introduction
that
to
a
the
whole lot.
mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't too bad. Like once you get in that frame of mind, like it wasn't too difficult, which they can be.
Yeah, that was something we talked about during the mapping event that we opened the challenge with, was that a difficult map is not necessarily a good map.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, a lot of people think my maps are super difficult, but that's not really my goal. I like a good challenge, but not too difficult.
I think there's there's a level of gratuity that you can have with difficulty, and if it impacts negatively on the flow of the level, then that's too much.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. I think like if you interrupt the player's puzzle solving flow, they're gonna get frustrated.
Yeah, I tend to like the more challenging maps as long as it's not something that you immediately see the solution, but you have to try it 500 times to get the timing just perfectly. Which unfortunately some of my maps suffered from anyway. But anyway.
Yeah, when I've been doing maps, I've always tried to think about like how can I come up with an interesting flow of experience, like an interesting. I don't think narrative is really the right term, but this kind of connection between the actions that the player has to do and create some kind of interesting pacing along the way. I don't know if I've ever achieved it, but that's what I try to do.
Yeah, I feel so much is missing out of the basic editor because you can't put in like sound samples and things to really like tell a story or kind of give a feeling for what the player should be doing.
Yeah. So as far as co-op stuff, you said earlier, Mevious, that you didn't get a chance to play any, but I know the rest of you have. What do you think of the co-op maps?
Well, for me, I love the co-op maps so much more. I feel like that's Portal 2's really major strength. It's like otherwise it would just be an add-on for Portal 1, but the co-op, being able to watch other people play and try new things and just discover all kinds of ways that you would never think would be possible.
What about you, Cockfight?
I didn't actually get a chance to play any of the cooperative maps.
You didn't? I thought you played some with
Oh, I actually played yours. I played your map.
Yeah.
But it would have been unfair. It would have been unfair to vote on your map saying it was the best. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, it definitely was.
That's a good accolade to have.
Maybe I noticed most of your maps that you'd posted already were just single player. Have you made very many cooperative maps?
I've made a couple co-op maps. Actually, like right after Portal 2 came out, co-op was like the most interesting thing to me. So I made a set called Electrophobia.
Yeah, right.
And so that's just 3 maps.
Yeah, we played through. I actually got a video that I'll have to send you the link that we played through, and it was interesting. But I couldn't find any others, so I didn't know if that was the main one you'd done or not.
There's one more that I did more recently called Aperture Valentine, and I just made a couple puzzles for it. It was a big collaborative effort, though.
Oh, nice.
But just those 4. I haven't made any other ones. I haven't made any in the in-game editor that I feel were good enough to publish.
Mevious, if you had a gift, would you say, hey, yeah, I have a gift, or would you be modest and say, nah, I don't have a gift?
Well, you're basically asking me if I have a gift, right?
I'm basically asking, hey, is your skills at making these maps, is that a gift? I mean, did you just day one just wow, were you amazing on day one? Or did it take time?
It took time, definitely. I wouldn't say I'm like naturally the best puzzle maker ever or whatever. I would just like I enjoy it, so I do it a whole lot and get a lot of practice.
Well, I don't believe you. I think you have a gift. I think the man has a gift. But all right, that's cool. What would you say? About a year into it? 2 years? Did it take you weeks?
Well, I used to design puzzles for old games. Like if anyone remembers Lemmings, I designed some levels for that. Load Runner. There was a version of Load Runner that I really liked making levels for. Old games. The Incredible Machine. I don't know if anyone's played that. But
yeah.
I used to design all kinds of different puzzles for games, and Portal just kind of struck a chord. I was like, oh, I need to make some levels for this.
Awesome.
Had you had any experience with Hammer before you started doing that?
Yeah, actually, yeah, Portal's a great like intersection between Hammer and puzzle, because I had used Hammer for some stuff like Half-Life 1 and 2 and Left 4 Dead before I jumped into Portal.
That's cool. Looking at your your work with Portal, how did you become involved with Portal Pro?
So Portal Pro was basically it started as a collection of my maps, just like tiny little maps that I wanted to put together in a collection. And so Portal Pro is essentially I made, maybe 40 maps, and then I took the best 25 or so, and said, all right, I'll arrange these in increasing difficulty, and then add some, story elements, and then try to make a cohesive mod, and it ended up being Portal Pro.
Have either of you guys, Nemoda and Cockfight, have you played it at all? I've had a go of it, and it's pretty impressive.
To be very honest, I don't remember playing Portal Pro.
No, I don't think I got a chance to. I've been mostly focused on the co-op stuff.
It's not on the workshop, is it?
No, it's for Portal 1. So it's on ModDB right now. You have to download and install it.
Old school.
I'd give it a shot. Yeah, I'd give it a shot. I'll do it.
No, I'd heavily recommend it. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot more challenging than the normal Portal campaign, but it's really enjoyable.
So you said there's something along the lines of about 25 maps in there?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's 25 test chambers, and then there's like BTS behind the scenes stuff after that.
All right, so I got to set aside about 3 weeks. Got it.
It takes some time to play through.
That's one thing I appreciated so much about your maps. The fact that I would walk into a room. My favorite Portal maps is when I walk into a room, I can look at the whole room with just one pan and say, "Oh, I got this. This is no problem. I can do this." And then you just slowly realize, there's more to it than meets the eye. I really love those for some reason.
You know, it just occurred to me that once again, I've completely forgotten to ask a guest to tell us about themselves, who they are. So we might, when we edit this, we'll shift it around. But for now, Mevious, would you like to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you've done?
Sure. So I'm Mevious, and I'm probably most notable as the Aperture Employee of the Moment, which is the award that Valve gave away when they launched the in-game editor. So I have a bunch of Portal 2 maps on my workshop, and I have a couple Portal 1 mods that I've created. One of them that's going to be coming out on Steam pretty soon, called Rexaura. I think that's about it. Pretty just mostly Portal famous.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I have that link somewhere. I will find it.
Maybe sometimes I think about you and I can't help but to think in my head that you were jettisoned off of a dying planet.
Huh? What do you mean?
I'm talking about like the story of Superman, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I can't believe the stuff you do. I hope that everybody here gets a chance to play your maps so they can just understand, they can just get it. I hope, you are the man. That's all I can really say.
Thanks. Well, you should check out some of the other mappers that are on my favorites list in the workshop. I don't know if anyone's seen the No Elements collection that I did with a couple other people, but their names are Gig, Azrai, and Juggler, and they all make amazing puzzles too. So I think they're definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
So, how did you come about working with Valve or being awarded the Employee of the Moment award? How did that come about?
So this was a little bit after the release of Rexaura, the initial ModDB release. There was an article on Rock Paper Shotgun about it, and I think that kind of drew their attention to me. So they asked me to be in the beta for the in-game editor, and so I was like, yeah, of course I'll do that. And I started messing around with it. I made a few maps, and then they were like, after a couple weeks, they were like, hey, we really like your maps. We want to feature them at launch. And so no one even knew there was like this possibility at the beginning. But then they were like, they reached out to me and they said, hey, we like your maps. So I was like, yeah, of course. And then that's what they did.
So all of those maps that Workshop was pre-populated with, they were made with the in-game editor?
Yeah, they were made in the beta. And I think, yeah, so all the ones that I released on launch day were in the beta, and then I kept some back so that I could release them, later, like in the coming weeks.
Yeah, nice. And what kind of response did you get from players as the DLC became live and people started checking out your stuff?
Well, the response was kind of overwhelming. Like, I wasn't expecting so many people to be playing them. So what I took the day off of work that day because I was just thinking, oh man, I'd like to be around if anything goes wrong. But like a lot of changes had to be made right away because people were finding these really easy breaks and stuff, and so I was just editing maps all day basically. I mean, the response was mostly positive. There were some people that were just frustrated. They were like, these maps are too hard. They're really designed for people who had finished the game, and I'm not sure, I don't have any metrics on like how many people were playing those maps before finishing the original campaign. I'd be curious to know that, actually.
Yeah, it'd be pretty interesting. So you said that you were doing a lot of fixes. Do you feel that that kind of broader public testing is an important aspect of developing a map, or do you think that that's really a separate thing from the actual core map development?
I think it's important to be testing early and often, especially for puzzles, because you really have to get a feel for like how people are going to interact with your map, like what kind of stuff is going through their head. And unfortunately for these maps, I didn't have a whole lot of testing done beforehand, and so I ended up with I had to make a lot of fixes really fast on launch day.
Do you feel like you need to make just one solution the best way to do it, or make it so that you really can't bypass anything, or do you try to keep it somewhat open-ended?
Well, I usually go for one solution. There are a couple times when multiple solutions are, I'm happy with multiple solutions. If people, there's a couple maps that like you can use some glitches. There's a glitch called portal bumping, where if you like put a portal on one side of glass and then shoot the other portal, it'll like bump it to the other side of the glass. Which, there's a couple of my maps that can be skipped like that, but I don't bother taking that out because I feel like if you want to do that, I shouldn't stop you.
Yeah.
It's obviously like not my intended solution, so I don't really have a problem with that. I do have to fix things. I do like to fix things that are like, someone just coming into the game fresh might think, oh, this really awkward move is, this is the right solution, and I try to make it so that's not the case.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of an example. Can't really at the moment.
Well, the very first time somebody played one of my maps, they bypassed like everything just by stacking 3 cubes together and climbing up over them. I was like, oh,
How could that be?
I should fix that. That would be cheese, yes.
Yeah, stuff like that. I would definitely want to fix stuff like that.
It's just amazing how many different ways people find to solve things that I would have never thought of.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because Portal is such an open-ended game. Like, it relies on the physics engine, and so there's all sorts of weird things you can do with the physics engine that you wouldn't necessarily expect.
Yeah, I just felt like as long as they saw most of the level, I didn't want to like lock it all down and make it so that there's only one actual solution.
During the mapping challenge, a few people within the community were actively streaming and recording videos of playthroughs of the maps that people were making. And I know that I found it really helpful to be able to watch other people go through my map and just sort of see what their first impressions were, where they were looking when certain events would happen, and that sort of stuff. Do you ever get the opportunity to watch people playing your maps, and do you feel like that's helpful?
Yeah. I on the first day of the PTI, I got the opportunity to see a lot of people breaking my maps, either but unintentionally or just like making a video of like, here's how I broke this map. So I got ton of YouTube videos that I was watching all day. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize you could do that in Portal 2. You know, I learned a lot that day.
Nice.
I also watch a few Portal and Portal 2 speedrunners, and they definitely know how to break the game in lots of ways.
I think it's funny, the game requires you to put in that observation room, but there's no, observer mode in the game for watching other people play, which is really a shame.
It'd be great if you could like play just from that perspective. You're stuck in that room, and all you can do is just watch.
Or you have cameras or something. You could get different angles if you need to. But yeah, that would be really cool.
So you're also contributed to Aperture Tag, is that right?
Yeah, I contributed a couple of puzzles to Aperture Tag. My involvement was actually not as much as people think.
What do you think of it now that it's released?
I mean, I still like it. I think it's a really great mod. It's lots of fun. And I know I've been friends with Motanum, the main guy behind it all, for a while. And I was actually really impressed that he was able to put all this together. I mean, no offense to him. It's just like it's a big project, and he was pretty much the driving force behind everything. So I'm still pretty impressed by it.
It seems cool. I haven't had a chance to play it myself though. Have you tried it, Namoda?
I have not, sorry.
It's all good.
It's a little more focused on like action elements than puzzles, but there are still some pretty good puzzles in it.
Yeah, I've heard some good things about it.
It's definitely a different experience than Portal 2, the normal game.
So from the SteamLUG maps that you played through, do you have suggestions for things that you might have done differently, or just generally improving them?
I think some things that I don't like when I'm playing maps is when I can't tell what a button is doing. Like, do you have the option to hide the ant lines?
Right.
Those are those little blue lines that go to doors or whatever. In a couple of ones I played, there were buttons that I couldn't figure out what they did for a while. And so I just kind of had to wander around and look at everything. I mean, that might be as intended, but I feel like it kind of artificially adds to the playtime.
Yeah.
I think most of them were pretty well lit. I think there were a couple that were very dark in places, and I had to like turn up my brightness to see what I was doing.
I noticed that in a couple as well. There were a few that seemed like they could have been a bit brighter.
Yeah, no, it's just watching some videos of the people who'd recorded the maps looked way darker than they do on my computer, so maybe my gamma in game is just brighter.
Yeah, it's a good point. I guess it depends on, what the mapper is used to.
Yeah, I think the lighting in the editor, I feel like that's meant to suggest to players what a good level of lighting is. Just an ambient level. But it's very easy to not put time into to lighting your map, because it's quite an iterative process to light something well, and the compile times can drag on a bit if you've got a big map.
Yeah, that's doubly true for the hammer maps as well. Like, lighting is a difficult process.
Yeah. So, Rexaura, for anybody who's listening who might not have heard of it before, do you want to give us the elevator pitch for it?
Rexaura is a Portal 1 mod based entirely around energy pellets. So those are the little orbs that bounce back and forth, and you have to use portals to direct them into the little catcher things. So that's the main idea. A lot of people say they don't like energy pellets. It's like one of their least favorite mechanics. And so they're actually something I really enjoy, so I tried to make them more user-friendly. So I did that by like making infinite ones that don't time out. A lot of people are annoyed by the timing aspect of them and stuff like that, so I kind of tried to fix that with this mod.
A complaint that I've heard from a few people about the energy pellets is that particularly if there's more than one, that it's very easy to lose track of where one is and get hit in the back of the head by one.
Yeah,
Those sort of unexpected deaths really abruptly halt the flow of trying to work out how a puzzle is meant to be solved.
yeah, I'm kind of at a standstill. I'm trying to update it right now so that the pellets don't actually harm the player. And that's proving to be a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be. Because like that's kind of hard coded in the engine, and I don't have access to the source code to change it. So I've been trying some weird ways to get around that. It's definitely something I don't agree with, the design decision to make energy pellets kill you when they hit you.
Yeah, it's like almost everything else in Portal is either, all the other dangers are either stationary or have some very clear indicator of what's going on. Like the rocket turret has that guidance beam that you can see everywhere, and you get a feel for what's happening. But the energy pellets is just so easy to lose track of.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I try to avoid having too many at once, I think there's only ever like 2 at once in any map, and I think that's still pretty rare in Rexaura.
So have you had a chance to look at the new version of Hammer that's shipped with Dota 2 recently?
No, I saw a couple screenshots, but I haven't tried it out yet.
It's got like a real-time preview, I think, which seems a bit more powerful than what's in Hammer at the moment.
For lighting, I imagine that'll be really useful, especially if that'll make lighting a way easier process.
Yeah.
I worked a little bit in Unreal Engine, and I know they do like a lighting preview, and then when you go from that to Hammer doesn't have any of that. You have to compile the map, you have to wait for a few minutes before you can even look at your lighting, which is definitely a more difficult process.
It's sure does slow things down.
I'm glad to hear they're improving that, if possible.
Yeah, it's not on Linux yet, so I don't think anybody within our community has spent a lot of time with it, but I'm hoping it'll arrive eventually and we'll be able to check it out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure none of the tools in the past have had Linux support. Is there any news about the new tools, or are we just
nothing
hoping?
that we've heard? We're just kind of hoping, yeah. But the in-game editor ships, like Portal 2 ships with native binaries for like VRAD and VBSP, so we can we can compile stuff from the command line, providing that we can get a source engine compatible map built elsewhere. And as far as sort of people who might not have had any previous mapping experience, for our listeners who are Linux users and might not have had access to the tools that we're talking about, are there any sort of tips or advice that you give to somebody who wants to try their hand at making some puzzles?
Sure. So, some of the essential tips for puzzle design, I guess, like make sure your player knows their goal. In a lot of cases, this might just be like make the exit visible, or make sure you know what opens the exit. Make sure your maps are well lit and you can see. And in my style of mapping, I like to make sure you can see pretty much the entire chamber in one glance. Like you can look around, you can see everything, you know what everything does. So the way I do that is I try to keep it simple. I try to only use a couple elements. Usually I go in with an idea that I have like one idea that I want the player to do some specific thing, and that requires, let's say, a light bridge and a cube. And so I know my map's going to have a light bridge and a cube, and I say, okay, well, what else can I do with these to lead up to that point? So yeah, one of my essential things is less is more. Just try to keep it simple. off the top of my head, that's it. I'll probably come up with some in a minute, though.
It's all good.
Something funny I kind of came up with was I'd have these issues where the players could so easily bypass something like just like taking a cube to the next room or through a portal or something, and I thought, well, I could either try to do all these workarounds to fix it, or I could make that required as part of the puzzle, and it seemed to work out better just making it required.
Yeah, it makes sense. You could just I like to use fizzlers a lot just to make it clear, like, oh, you can't bring anything from here to here.
Yeah.
I think communicating that that intent, I guess, can be really helpful as well. Like it helps gives players a little bit of direction and stops them from wandering around confused when they've got the wrong idea about what they have to do.
Yeah. Communicating intent is a good way of putting it. Like, I often do lighting in such a way that, like, I want to draw the player's attention to the fact that this little surface is directly across from this laser catcher, for example. So, like, I'll put lights along the floor, and more often than not, people seem to appreciate that. They're like, yeah, I like how you use lighting as a hint. So that's another thing you can do to try to, like, communicate intent.
There was a question that I wanted to ask earlier, but I had to put out a fire. How did you feel when Valve approached you about beta testing? How did that moment, what did it do for you?
Well, I was really excited to, have a sneak peek at the editor. I had heard a little bit about it before, and I was like, oh, this is a fun little diversion, but I didn't realize, like, how much I'd enjoy using it, and how much I could actually do in it. So really more was like surprised that this thing is actually really good, and I probably want to keep using it for a long time.
But Valve reached out to you to test it, is that correct?
Yeah, I had a few friends who were already in the beta, so I was trying to get out, I was trying to, like, ask them to get me into it. So I was already kind of, like, I was sort of expecting it. So it wasn't like a huge deal. The big deal was when they reached out to me to feature my maps. I think that was when I was, like, really excited to hear from Valve.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. I mean, did your heart race? Did you feel like, wow, Valve being a big deal, and you already love making these maps? So did you feel like, wow, I can't believe it, Valve reached out to me like that?
It was definitely a very high point, I was very excited. I don't know what else to say. Like, it was just really exciting.
It's good for you, man. Absolutely.
So are there any areas that you feel that the in-game editor could stand to be improved on?
Yeah, I think I recommended for some people wanted to look into, like, adding extra items using the B mod. And right now there's not, that mod is, like, you kind of have to hack it together. There's a lot of things that are hard-coded, and you have to kind of do some weird things to get around it. So I think it would be helpful to support more user-generated items, or plugins or whatever, because I think just the basic materials, there's so much you can do with just the basic items, but there's so much more you can do when you add new things. And yeah, I think someone posted the link in chat, but yeah, it's pretty cool to see maps made with like new items that you haven't seen before.
I find the pneumatic vents potentially really interesting.
Yeah, I've only played like 1 or 2 maps that use them though, so I couldn't really comment yet whether or not they're, like, how deep they go,
One of the maps from the mapping challenge had one in it, and as soon as I spotted it was in there, I was pretty excited. And then it turns out that it's only used cosmetically, like it's behind some glass walls. You just see some things whizzing by, and it doesn't actually do anything. You don't come near it. So I ended up being disappointed.
I assume that was one of the co-op maps. I don't remember seeing that one.
Yeah, it was a co-op map. It was Adventure Together, I think it was, which was a decent map all round. Although it did had some readability issues with a couple of the switches. Didn't have ant lines or buttons or any kind of timing indicators. So you had to press 2 at the same time, but there was no indicator to suggest that that was what you had to do. But yeah, I enjoyed that map. Did you give BMod a try in a motor?
Yeah, most of my maps ended up using it just because there's just little gotchas that were hard to work around. One of the biggest issues was the laser snapping. Like, if you put a laser through a portal and it lines up with a target somewhere, it'll move the whole laser out of position so that it perfectly lines up, and it kind of breaks a lot of the mechanics I was working for. So I just use logic gates and BMod to kind of work around it.
Yeah, it seems like those extra logic gates are probably the most immediately useful feature in BMod.
Actually, one of my favorite features of BMod is you can make levels that just use the single portal gun. So it just shoots blue portals, and then you have orange portals that you can turn on and off.
Oh, nice.
That definitely makes for some interesting new ways of thinking about portals. Like, in my mods, people tend to get really confused in the first half because they're just so unused to having the single portal gun.
It really does change the dynamics of how you think about and how you approach stuff. Like, you've got this extra constraint on your ability, which at first might sound like it's it frees up. You don't have to worry about the second portal because it's already been placed for you, but at the same time, you don't get to go through the logical thinking that you would need to go through to place the portal in that position to begin with, so you're sort of one step behind.
Yeah, it's just a different way of thinking, and there's a completely different set of puzzles you can make with it, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's neat. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us about what you're up to, or what you might be doing in the future, Mevious?
I don't know. Just look out for more maps. I'm also working on a side project, a puzzle game on iPhone and Android that I can't share a lot about it right now, but hopefully we'll have that out some point this year. So if you want to check us out, you can look at cardboardsled.com. That's the name of the company I'm working for right now. So hope to see more from that, I guess.
Oh, cool. Keep an eye on it.
Did you want to go over the poll results?
Oh yeah, sorry, I pasted the link in chat and then we moved on and started talking about other stuff. Do you want to introduce the first set of results, Namoto?
Sure. That's the single player puzzle contest. It looks like kind of a tie between Bob Says Hi's Brain Melter and Leo Verto's Hidden.
Yeah, nice, and we kind of mentioned both of those a bit earlier. I guess the thing to note about Bob's map, as we mentioned earlier, is that it was made using Hammer to create the mechanic that makes it so distinct. So it really does stand out as something different compared to all the others, which were made just using the in-game editor.
Yeah, and he definitely took the lead on the experience because of that, I think. But yeah, it definitely added to the new experience that people had not seen before.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I only got a chance to play 3 or 4 of the single player maps, and although I really think it could have benefited from some better lighting, I kind of enjoyed Adorable Maze, just because I think it had the potential to be something a bit more interesting than some of the other mazy type stuff that I'd been attempting myself.
Yeah, I like the concept. I think it did need a little more testing because I ran through it and I think I missed a whole lot of it, but it was a nice idea.
And I know that the Test Chamber 01 by Corbin, that was one of your favorites, Cockfight.
Loved it. Mevious, man, I can't believe you didn't love it.
Is that the one that's the default map?
No, no. That was by Rake, and that was a nice surprise, man. It made me feel smart.
Wait, which one are you talking about?
Mongo Test Chamber 1. It reminded me, believe it or not, it really did remind me of you. So I can't believe you didn't well, you probably played it. You probably liked it and all.
Yeah, I played it. I don't remember which one it is. I'd have to go look in the picture.
It had a large body of water and some aerial faceplates.
Yeah.
And then the crushers on the other side.
Yeah, there's crushes in the other room. Oh, that was just brilliant. Did you guys solve that, by the way? Like, on your own?
Oh yeah.
I feel really bad. I didn't get a chance to play it.
I played the first revision before he added an autosave, and so I kept having to redo the first part over and over, and that was frustrating.
Yeah. Oh, man, that was awesome.
But it did seem to get quite a positive reception from all the people I talked to who played it. So the second poll that we had was looking at these maps from perspective of what is a good experience as opposed to what is a good puzzle. And again, Bob says High Lol's Brain Melter stood out way ahead. And I think that's just because, you know, that unique mechanic created something interesting that people weren't expecting.
Yeah, I thought mechanic was an interesting experience. I didn't rate it very high on the puzzle part because once I figured out what that was, then the rest of the puzzles were not that challenging, but I still thought it was a pretty cool design.
And I see Test Chamber 01 by Corbin is high there again. So moving on, we had the ratings for the co-op puzzles. Looking at them again from a puzzle perspective, my amazing map, which involved having one player below in a maze and another player above directing them through the maze. That seemed to score quite well. And Namoda, your 2 for 3 steps was quite high as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember which
Yeah,
one.
I wasn't sure how many people actually made it through my map, but it was fun to watch some of the videos they were doing.
Yeah, I remember when Rake and I first started playing it, we were scratching our heads. We just couldn't work out how to grab those cubes. And part of that was, and this is another limitation of the in-game editor, is often in Portal and Portal 2, they'll use like a subtly different wall texture to provide a hint or a cue for where a portal should be placed. And
Yeah.
when you've got like a light bar on a wall, and the wall, you know, the tile isn't tall enough to fit the normal default texture, it defaults back to this slightly different one that feels like it should be a cue for where a portal's meant to go, and so that proved to be a bit of a red herring for me at least.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had updated it since then to kind of get around some of that. It's hard to test some of those co-op maps without just a lot of people looking at them.
I thought it was amazing that you managed to, you know, run through and complete it using the one computer testing thing where you swap between the two.
Yeah. You kind of have to get used to that, just doing testing on your own to try and figure it out.
Yeah. And Corbin's second map was also highly rated there as well. And that one I got to see you playing with Hero, I think.
It might have been Legioni.
Oh yeah, it was Legioni, sorry. But I played that myself with Corbin as well, and not with Corbin, with Dishara, and we had we had a tricky time. I think we finished it in a way that Corbin didn't intend, so he's gonna go away and fix that some more. But
Yeah.
I thought his use of combination locks was quite interesting.
Yeah, it took forever to figure out that. Again, it comes back to the trying to let the player know, how things are meant to be, and he used lights to do it, but because lights are, lights in the game, you don't always think about them being cues.
And then looking at the co-op maps from an experience perspective, Hero 01's Adventure Together and my amazing map, both rated quite high. Adventure Together was pretty good. Did you play that one, Namoda?
Yeah, I played that, I think with Corbin originally, but Yeah, it was pretty good. We got stuck on it, and he had to make some revisions. But again, it was pretty fun. I like his use of space. Really big rooms that I hadn't even thought to try.
Yeah, that was the one that had the two middle switches, which were unlabeled, and you had to press them both at the same time.
Yeah, that part was a little tricky, but right after that, you get into that big open room, and it was just like, wow, that's a completely different experience.
I love the way that the thumbnail gives a really false impression of the scale of the map. He's done a really good job with that. And I think that was the one that he did the time-lapse creation video for.
Oh, yeah. I thought about trying to record one of those, but I do so many other things at once, it would be hard to keep my mind on it.
And it looks like your 2 for 3 steps and Corbin's test chamber 2 also were recognised as being pretty good by the community. I thought because when we decided to run this, I was worried about people voting on a map just based on the difficulty and not thinking about something more than that. And so I wanted to create a couple of categories so that people would start to think about things from multiple perspectives. And I thought it was interesting to see the similarities, which maps scored well in both and which maps didn't do so well in each one.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how people think about it.
Yeah, like you were saying with Bob's map, is like once you realize what's going on, the puzzles themselves aren't particularly challenging or creative, but the impact of that is quite high. So it's from an experience perspective, it's very obviously a notable experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been fun to run. I think we'll try and do more of this sort of stuff moving forward. More of trying to get people to be creative and showcasing some of the community content. We're going to be adding all of these maps into the larger SteamLUG community workshop collections, so people will be able to check them out in there as well.
Nice.
But yeah, so on that note, we'll move on to other stuff. So Mevious, thank you very much for joining us. You're welcome to hang around and chime in on any of the rest of the show that you like. But thank you very much for spending this first part with us at the very least.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll probably stick around, see the rest of the stuff.
Thank you, Mevious.
Alrighty, so quickly whipping through SteamLUG community stuff. Past events, we had the Gary's Mod Prop Hunt event, Dota 2, we had our larger Guns of Icarus event, and we had our first Running with Rifles event. Out of those, I think the Guns of Icarus one was the only one that I was able to attend. Did you manage to catch any of those, Namoda?
I believe I played the Dota 2 event at least for one map, and that was pretty good. We had some new people there, but it was kind of hard to organize. We didn't have some of our regulars there to... I think John did some organizing, but beyond that, it was a little chaotic.
But Guns of Icarus was... we had a good turnout for that.
Yeah, that was great.
I didn't get a final count, but yeah, we just had a lot of people come through. It was good.
Oh, and I did save that 2 ships versus 2 ships all SteamLUG match video that I made.
Oh, nice.
So I can get a link for that.
As far as upcoming events go, after we're done here with the show, we're going to drop back and play some Monaco, which has been much requested title. A bit of fun for everyone. We'll have our first Sanctum 2 event tomorrow, which by the time that you listen to this recording will be long gone, and you'll all be able to remember your fond memories of playing Sanctum 2. Good times. And also on the horizon, we've got some Team Fortress 2 and Forced, which should be good. We haven't had a Forced event in a while, and I'm kind of actually itching to play the game again. I really liked it. Other community stuff that we've had going on, John and Swordfisher had been hard at work revamping the Linux gaming theme, which has been an interesting experience for them. I think they've got some positive and negative feedback, and weighing that up has been a interesting challenge. If John wants to talk about that, he can chime in. Otherwise, we'll just cut that bit out. Nope. Moving on. As you mentioned, of course, we had our mapping challenge, and alongside that, we launched initial poll support for the SteamLUG website, so we can now start running polls for things like upcoming events, timing of events. We're probably going to be adopting a logo at some point soon, so we can start to get some feedback on designs that way. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to broaden and get a bit more community input into some things that we just don't have the communication bandwidth to get, to chat with, every single member of the community. We want to try and give everyone an opportunity to have a bit of input into to the stuff that we do, so that should be really good. I also recently streamed the Maker's Eden for Game Club, and we had a couple of the developers join us in chat for that. That was a bit of fun. Interesting to see the way that the turnout that we get for Game Club changes depending upon the game that we're playing. So we tap in a little bit to the existing player community and get people who just hadn't previously been interested in Game Club but wanted an opportunity to connect with the developers and chat about their thoughts about the game. So it's kind of cool. And nice. I think they've got a new vignette coming out soon. People should keep an eye out for that if they're interested in the game.
So we've been trying to get some more streaming and videos going on, and I got my site on Hitbox. I'm not trying to build a show out of it. I'm just trying to post some of the stuff that SteamLUG's doing and keep things interesting. Hero's been doing a little bit. He's been suffering from some bandwidth issues, but hopefully he'll get most of his vids up. And I think Lajoni recorded a couple of Portal 2 vids.
Yeah, I think he also recorded some SteamLUG stuff as well. Some Guns of Icarus matches as well.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah. So we'll probably look at trying to find a place to highlight people within the community who are, doing streams or putting up videos of SteamLUG events or just Linux games or whatever, and just try and showcase the content that people within the community are creating. So keep an eye out for that as well. On the Steam and Valve front, we've had a recent client update which has finally re-enabled in-home streaming for Linux hosts, which is the most exciting thing to have happened to the Steam client for me in a long, long time.
Yeah, that'll be really useful, just going between rooms and keeping things going.
Was it disabled at some point?
Yeah, just when it went live in the stable client, it was disabled for Linux and Mac.
That's too bad. Do you know why? Is it just not working yet?
I had a bit of a read up, and I'd missed it at the time, but somebody pointed it to me recently. But they rewrote the entire streaming backend, and at the time that they wanted to launch it, it just wasn't working on Linux and Mac, and it was a lower priority than some of the other features that they wanted to focus on. So it took until now for us to get that back. But now that it is back.
They talked a little bit about that at DebConf when Val was down there. I only caught the tail end of it, so I really hope they post that show again because it had a lot of nice Q&A there. But yeah, they said that they had tried to build it right off the bat and it just failed, and they just didn't have time to get into it. But they had somebody working on it, and obviously they got it out.
Yeah, it's cool. And when was DebConf? That was a week ago?
Yeah, about a week ago.
Yeah.
On the 29th, 30th, somewhere around there.
Yeah, if there's an archive somewhere, we'll chase one up and put it in the show notes. If not, you can look at the show notes right now and shake your head wistfully and wish that you'd been there.
They did post the Q&A with Linus Torvalds, and it was cool to hear him talk about his hopes for Valve on Linux and what that might mean for a desktop Linux that everybody seems to want.
What sort of stuff did he have to say?
Well, he gave an example specifically about an application that was already open source, but it was too difficult to get into a lot of distributions and keep it constantly updated, and that he would hope that with Valve's Steam Runtime and things like that, that it would make application development a lot easier to manage across distributions.
So, have you managed to use in-home streaming since it's been re-enabled? Have you noticed any performance difference?
It worked great for me. I had some audio issues, but they said that'll be fixed in the next release, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, I've only had a chance to sort of fire a couple of things up, and it seems to be on par with the kind of experience that I was getting before, which I was really happy with. So yeah, it's thumbs up. I'm looking forward to being able to make use of that feature again. Although I do find it interesting that if the game loses focus on the host machine, it streams the whole desktop and not just the game.
Yeah, it's done it even on Windows streaming. It did the same thing. You could see your Windows desktop on Linux, which was a little scary.
Yeah. It is a bit scary, but interesting design choice.
But it is just in-home streaming. It's not meant to be super secure and all that.
Yeah. Another feature that people have been a little bit excited about in that same update, I think it was the automatic inclusion of game soundtracks that you own into the in-client Steam Music beta.
Yeah, it's useful for a big picture if you got a media box.
It's kind of cool to get those soundtracks that you might own through Steam to somewhere where they're a bit more useful and a bit more discoverable.
Yeah, I think you've always been able to just copy the files, but it's nice to have them just there.
Right, but you gotta go and find them.
You're right.
But that's cool. We also have in our tech news section, Ryan Gordon was on the Linux Action Show talking about some of his history, some of his hopes for Linux gaming, and some thoughts on some recent Linux games. Have you had a chance to watch that?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen him do like a live show like that before, and I was pretty impressed. I really liked that he took time to remind people to be positive about The Witcher 2.
Is that a good show?
I've seen interviews he's done on like at campuses and things that kind of follow the same vein of what he's been talking about. But it was cool to see that in a more structured show.
Yeah, I've seen him give talks and stuff, but I hadn't seen like an actual sort of interviewee type thing.
Yeah.
So you guys follow that show, the Linux Action Show?
I don't watch it a lot. I've seen it a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't really follow it. I just occasionally the highlights come out that are kind of cool.
I got to do some catching up.
It's been running for a while now. I'm gonna guess that they've got over 300 episodes just from the URL, and they're firmly ensconced, have a good viewer base, and they're able to pull in people like Ryan. That's pretty cool as well.
So Borderlands 2.
Yeah, Borderlands 2.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
Who's excited for Borderlands 2?
I'd love to play that. I'd love to give that an honest-to-God shot. Guys, invite me.
It's an awesome game.
I know it's a hugely popular game, but I don't know that much about it, so it'll be interesting to see. It's exciting to see more big games get ported.
I love that style. I love the artwork.
Yeah, the cartoony style is quite nice.
Cell shading, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's beautiful. There's something about that I find so cool.
And Liam from Gaming on Linux managed to reach out and get official confirmation that it is coming for Linux. So that's good to see as well.
Very
Through
nice.
Aspire, right?
Yeah, through Aspire. And John has made note here that we should let people know that he is more than happy to join people's co-op games during the month after launch. But he's already played through it, so you won't get that first-time discovery experience with him. You'll be sitting there smug, like watching to see if your expression changes or when you react to something, so it'll constantly be distracting. I wouldn't play with him. Nah, John's cool to play with.
Is that his revenge for our Portal 2 maps?
Maybe. So, other things that people have spotted appearing on the horizon. Flockers, which is a game that's published by Team 17, has a encrypted Linux depot at the moment and valid Linux launch config.
Fluckers, I think it's I don't want to call it a clone, but it's like Lemmings, which is what I mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, Mevious. Oh, that means you're going to make maps for this?
We'll see. I don't know if they have a map editor. I played the demo. It looks pretty promising, though.
Was that the Team 17 game?
Yeah, so this is published by Team 17, and seeing another game of theirs, or another game that they're involved with encrypted Linux depots, it's kind of, I don't know, does this show a focus for them, or a shift towards being more cross-platform? Because obviously they've got Worms Reloaded and the new Super Frog game, or the revamped Super Frog game is available for Linux as well.
Nice.
And Worms Clan Wars has also, if we look at the depot history on SteamDB, we can see that it's been getting updates for the past couple of months. So it's nice to see that there's development happening there. Very, very, very looking forward to seeing that one go live.
Yeah, hopefully the support is a little better than Reloaded has been.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of tricky as well. I mean, Reloaded is fairly long in the tooth now.
Yeah.
You know, it's I don't know. In my opinion, it's a legacy title. Like it's hard to justify making significant updates to a game that's that old.
Yeah, it's fair.
Or the kind of significant updates we'd need to resolve some of the core issues that we've got with it. And also appearing on SteamDB that people have noticed has been Empire Total War. The keen observer will notice that where's it gone now? I can't find it. One of the configurations said hello /r/Linux gaming.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
They know we're watching.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to what we were talking with JP about a couple of casts ago, where this kind of exposure of this stuff being visible to users can have a little bit of a feedback effect for developers. So Feral Interactive did the Mac port of Empire Total War. It seems reasonable to speculate that they're probably working on the Linux version here. So that's more stuff from them, I imagine.
Cool.
Looking forward to seeing that launch. There is a game called This War. No, that's like it's something else. Hang on. Fumble.
This War of Mine?
This War of Mine. I'm like, there's totally a word missing in that URL. Has launched. It's by 11-Bit Studios. They're the people who made Anomaly, which is that sort of reverse tower defense game.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat. So if anybody's keen, check that out.
I like the trailer to that. It looked interesting, and the premise is good. I like that.
Oh, actually, I beg your pardon. I totally misread that all, and it's not out yet. It will support Linux on the day of release, by looks of things.
Is there a release date, or is it still pretty early?
It's a good question.
I don't see a release date. Oh well.
We're on the ball today.
Yeah. And some more people looking for Linux support.
Yeah, so looks like the vanishing of Ethan Carter is probably going to make it our way. I know a lot of people are particularly interested in seeing this game materialize on Linux. It has some interesting tech behind it that, obviously having new tech available on our platform is is of obvious benefit.
So we also have Gauntlet. Does promise that they will have a SteamOS version, but that's all they're really going to support on launch, so we'll see what that means for support afterwards. Hopefully they'll continue to keep it working across most Linux distributions.
It sounds like they're specifically disinterested in offering support for other distributions, which is a little bit sad.
Well, at the same time, you look at what Valve did, and they said Steam's only going to support Ubuntu. Well, that's still officially true, but it works everywhere. I can't imagine they'd go out of their way to make it not work.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't imagine that they would be intentionally doing something to make it not work, but it kind of, to me, it feels a little bit like when a developer says, oh, a game runs okay under Wine, but then, you don't have any guarantee of support if you're not running that.
Well, there's a huge difference between just releasing it on Wine and releasing it on natively for SteamOS. I mean, if it works in SteamOS, chances are it's going to work everywhere.
It's the support stuff that I care about more than anything else.
Sure, but it's still a big difference. But we'll see. We'll see how they manage it.
But yeah, obviously there is a huge difference in the likelihood of stability, performance, compatibility, whatever, if you're actually doing if you're actually targeting a Linux distro of some kind. Altitude is now free as a side-on dogfighting combat game.
I played the demo of that, but I'll have to check it out now if it's completely free. I never really got into it.
Yeah, I had been meaning to check it out for a while, but just I hadn't really found time.
And I guess we have Braid officially released now. We're repackaged for Steam.
Yeah. So this is now available after a long wait.
If you haven't played Braid, go play it right now. It's amazing.
It's pretty good. Did they use Ryan's part for that, or did they start over, or what did they do? Do anybody know?
So the port was refreshed by Aaron Melcher, I think it is, from Knockout Games. He took the existing port that Ryan had done and just kind of freshened it up a bit, made sure it was ready, built against the Steam runtime and stuff.
Cool.
So he's also worked on a couple of other games. He's responsible for bringing us Horde.
Oh, right.
And Quadrilateral Cowboy he's working on as well. With, gosh, what are their names? Totally escapes me. The people who did like Atom Zombie Smasher and stuff. Blendo Games, that's it. So Quadrilateral Cowboy is like the newest one in the series whose name I also can't remember, but it's the sequel to to like Gravity Bone and 30 Flights of Loving. So that should be cool to check out when it arrives.
Yeah, it was nice to see new names for porters come up and get stuff done.
Robocraft has added Linux and Mac support, which is a sort of
I have not even looked at that one yet.
That was totally not code for I haven't looked at it either. You kind of like you build a vehicle and then you it looks like a deathmatch kind of game. So you spend time.
Oh, you program your bots to fight. That's cool.
I think you might control them directly rather than programming them. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it too deeply. But it seems to have like interesting simulation elements.
That's cool.
So there are flying things as well as driving things and stuff.
I guess Screensheet is now out of beta, and we played a bit of that. It's pretty amusing. It's a simple game, but it's definitely a new take on it. Makes it really interesting.
Yeah. I played a bit of the beta. I haven't played the release version yet, but it's interesting. Had they changed it since the beta? Did you play the beta at all?
Just a bit, new maps and modes and things, but it's the same concept where it's just a basically first-person deathmatch game, except that you can see split screen everybody, even across the network, their view, but you can't actually see their player models, so you just have to try and figure out where they are based on their view.
I played a couple of games online, and at first it's very difficult to get a sense of what's going on, because anybody who's had a little bit of experience is immediately going to know where you are and what you're doing if they know the maps. But it really is fun once you get into it.
Yeah, camping and sniping not going to happen in that game because they will know where you are every time.
Yeah, the game mode that I played the most was this kind of King of the Hill type thing, but the hill would keep moving around the place.
Yeah.
And it just kind of meant that people would try and camp the spot and use some kind of weapon with blast radius to do sort of area denial, but as soon as it moves, then it's anybody's game,
And it is interesting that they kept the level design, different sections of the map colored, so you can just see out of the corner of your eye what color they're in, and you'll know right away.
Yeah, no, they put particular effort into making sure that the screens are readable when you're looking at other people's screens.
Yeah,
it's cool. Book of Unwritten Tales 2 has hit Steam Early Access. So from what I was reading, their plan here is to release like a chapter every month or every couple of months or something. So it seems like they're taking what, in some respects, could be considered an episodic approach to releasing a story-oriented game without the kind of episodic labeling, which is kind of cool, I think, to treat your game as being pre-release until the whole lot is out there, and to put the whole unified experience as a first-class experience, which you don't always get with an episodic title.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I'd rather just have the whole game and play through it. I don't know if I like the episodic stuff as much.
Right, but if you're not interested in sort of specifically supporting game getting made and stuff, then early access isn't really what you'd be going in for, so you get to wait for the full release and experience that as one thing. So it kind of seems like they're allowing people to feel like they can have the best of both worlds, maybe. I don't know how well it's going to be received. I just thought it was an interesting move, interesting way to present this sort of thing.
I was not a big fan of their original games. I don't know why. I just played through some of it and I was like, not my thing.
Yeah, we did it for Game Club a little while back, and I thought it was okay, but I wasn't really all that happy with the representation of women in the game. To move things on a more topical front. Yeah.
I didn't even get far enough to notice that, but yeah, I had played Violet, and I thought Violet was pretty good, kind of an adventure run through. I mean, didn't really stand out as amazing, but it was pretty well done. Journey Down Chapter 2, I guess, is out, and that looks a lot more interesting to me than some of the other ones.
Yeah, I can heartily recommend Journey Down Chapter 2. For anybody who's played the first chapter, it's a no-brainer. Get into it. It's heaps longer than the first one, and the puzzle design and structure is a lot more mature. You know, in terms of from a technical perspective and a production standpoint, it's really a lot more robust.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I liked the story in the first one, but you could definitely tell it was just a little on the edge of the mechanisms.
Yeah, and they've put a lot of effort into making it so that all of your actions feel like they're progressing the story forward. Well, most of your actions feel like they're progressing the story forward. Like all the puzzles make sense within the context of what's going on.
That's cool.
So there's not a lot of gratuitous puzzle solving there, and it all flows really nicely. Like the story's engaging, the pacing's really good, and the art style's really nice and charming. And of course, Buana is his his lovable inept self.
Is this an adventure game?
Yeah, point and click adventure game.
Looking at the trailer, it kind of reminds me of Grim Fandango a little bit.
Kind of got that vibe to it, yeah.
So they had a pre-order campaign where they were raising money in partnership with Engineers Without Borders to build a secondary school for girls in Tanzania. Is it Tanzania or Tanzania? You know, I did this last time we talked about this on the show.
Tasmania? What?
Tanzania.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, they raised half of the money needed to construct the school out of that pre-order campaign. So that's pretty cool. I think Tanzania is what I normally go to say, but I think that the lass in the video where they were pitching the pre-order campaign and what they were talking about, pretty sure she said Tanzania. So I don't know. Anyway, she said something different to what I normally say, and now I'm very confused. We can crop this bit out. It'd be great. Every time I say that, I know that it's going to end up at the end of the show. John just goes, "Oh yeah, Cheese doesn't want this in. I'll just crop this out and put it at the very end."
So PAX news. I haven't really followed PAX very much. What's your take on it?
I don't follow much myself either, but there were a couple of games that I was particularly interested in and wanted to check out. Not all of this news is from PAX. So the first thing that I was trying to keep an eye on was Campo Santo's Firewatch. They premiered a trailer and did some live gameplay for I think it was live anyway. They showed some in-game stuff of the game, which is pretty sweet. So this is a first-person adventure game sort of thing. I don't know. Have you heard about it at all? Do you want me to talk about it? I mean, we've mentioned it once or twice previously.
I just watched a little bit of the trailer and I wasn't sure what was going on, but it sounded like another interesting adventure game.
It seems pretty mysterious so far. I'm intrigued by it though. I want to play it.
It seems ruddy mysterious. Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, the people on board, the talent on board's pretty exciting as well. They've got ex-Telltale people, ex-Double Fine people, ex-LucasArts, ex-Studio Ghibli. They got people from all over the place with, quite pedigree to them. And I don't know. I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I feel like this is kind of learning a little bit from The Walking Dead and doing something a bit more interesting. Where, hooray! I said it. I said it on a live cast that Walking Dead is not interesting. I didn't get lots of hate mail for that. But yeah, they want to sort of.
I like Walking Dead, the video game. I'm playing season 2 right now.
Yeah, I really didn't find. I felt that the first season peaked at episode 2 and went steadily downhill after that. But 400 Days was kind of interesting, so maybe season 2 takes that approach a little bit more.
I think it picks up again. I can understand what you're saying. I think it picks up again in chapter 5 or whatever of season 1.
Yeah, it didn't get me. It didn't grab me.
There
So
is,
back to Linux
there
games.
is a lot of downtime. So yeah, sorry
I
for
know,
that
it's just-
aside.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. Namota's distracting me so I don't rag on Walking Dead.
Trying to. So, Beyond Earth trailer came out, and definitely looks like it will be a very popular game for people that like Civilization 5. For people that were hoping it would be a remake of Alpha Centauri, you might be a little disappointed, but still definitely that kind of game.
Well, it's hard to see just from because this looks like a walkthrough of one faction's tutorial sequence, and yeah, it's kind of hard to get a sense of what the broader like story context. Because I feel like that's part of what made Alpha Centauri what it was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dynamics between the characters and stuff. So maybe that starts to reveal itself once you get a better sense of who all the other factions are and how they start to interrelate. Like maybe that's just
And
not
it's certainly
revealed.
got some unique mechanics and things that you wouldn't see in Civ 5. So it's not like just a reskin game, obviously, but it did definitely appeal to people that have played Civ 5, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see more. I don't feel like this tutorial thing was enough to get me too
Yeah.
excited, but yeah, interested to see more. So there's a whole bunch of Double Fine news that is, or Double Fine related stuff that has dropped within the past fortnight, and something from a little bit older that I forgot to mention previously as well. A couple of days ago,
Take it away.
Space DF9 got a update, and there was a week-long in-fiction lead-up to the release, which was meant to be this kind of personal logs of a character in the game called Grelnash, and then spread around the internet, some on Reddit, some on the Steam forums, some on the Double Fine forums, some on Twitter, some elsewhere, were all these little snippets of related stories, like other characters within the game being worried about this particular character and stuff. And eventually the update was revealed to contain affinities and for characters or in-game characters, NPCs that allow them to perform better in a particular job or hate another type of job. And the other big feature was rioting. So if you make them do something they don't want to do too much, they go nuts.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to try the new version much yet. Hunting down that audio bug.
It has, yeah, it's got an audio bug at the moment. Looks like some kind of conflict with the Steam runtime. If you launch it outside of Steam, runs fine for me with sound. So if anybody's encountering those problems, give that a try. Developers know about it. Hopefully we'll see an update coming soon. But that's kind of cool. Also, we had the Grim Fandango panel at PAX, at which a new episode of the Two Player Productions documentary covering Grim Fandango has been released. And they also did a big hour-long, I guess, panel on what they were doing and where they were at. For people who appreciated the game when it came out, like myself, it's really nice to see that they're treating the original experience as the primary experience. Like they want to make sure that they capture that that original thing that the game was when it came out, rather than pushing pushing some kind of revamped thing as being or recreating it or reimagining it or anything. They're just kind of focusing on getting the original assets there. Apparently they've got sources for some of the cutscenes and stuff which don't have any of the compression they use to squeeze it onto 2 CDs. So is it 2 or 3?
Cool.
But yeah, they're doing all that sort of stuff to try and pull what they can out of the original stuff without modifying it too much. They may still do some kind of remastering and or up-resing and that sort of stuff. It sounds like they're still trying to work out what the best course of action there is. But yeah, for now, it does sound like they're really interested in respecting the original game, which I'm really happy to hear. I didn't know that I would talk about Grim Fandango that much without taking a breath. That was good. So, something that we forgot to cover last cast was Hack and Slash is due for release this month on September the 9th. They launched Steam Workshop support. I have not had a chance to look at any of the mods to see what anybody's done, but when it comes out, that will include more like the final part of the story, which will be interesting to see. And yeah, I am kind of interested to see what people do with the modding tools. Costume Quest 2 is now available for pre-order on Steam. It's looking like it's going to have deeper combat than the original game. It's got interesting plot going on, and Ben Burback confirmed that the Windsock guy will be making a triumphant return.
Hooray!
Hooray! For anybody who doesn't know, the Windsock guy is this background character during one of the fight sequences. Well, he's not even a character, he's just one of those advertising tentacle wavy arm guys
Yes.
in a parking lot, and he's just in the background for this entire big epic fight. And some of the Double Fine community got really excited about him, and enough that the developers decided they'd put him in the sequel, so that's pretty cool.
Inflatable arm flailing tube man.
Yes.
I can't say that fast.
Yeah, I like watch the Family Guy Star Wars special, so all I can say is like intergalactic proton powered electrical tentacle advertising droids. It's like all I can remember. And also at PAX, what am I saying? Also at PAX, Brad Muir, awesome Brad Muir, gave a big rundown on what Massive Chalice is and how it's looking at the moment, which is pretty sweet to see.
Cool.
So for anybody excited about that, get to listen to Brad talk some more. Anybody who's not already excited about that, they can they can check out the video and see what's going on.
So, Witcher 2's been getting some updates. I played a little bit after the first update and it ran a little better, but still not top-notch quality, so I haven't tried it since some of the newer updates. Maybe they've done even more work and it runs great now, but it's certainly been a rocky release.
Yeah, I think we covered this in the last cast. I don't know if the most recent update is between now and then.
Yeah, I think
I
they
don't
had
know,
another one
so I
just a
can't
couple
see
days
it.
ago, so
Okay, that's cool.
worth checking out if you haven't tried it recently.
Yeah, totally. Always get in there, give feedback, let people know what's going on. And again, as Ryan said during his interview with on the Linux Action Show, that this kind of activity where they're putting effort into making the situation better, that's the stuff that we want to see, that's the stuff that we want to celebrate, because ultimately this is support. This is Linux support. Whether it's native or not, that's beside the point. It's whether or not they support us. And moving on to crowdfunding news, we have first on cab on the rank is Pathologic, which I know nothing about,
Sounds pathological.
but I'm going to look at it right now.
Did we actually talk about the performance?
Of The Witcher 2?
No. I'm Linux gaming, just performance in general. Because I was sort of waiting on that, but I feel like I've just missed it. Did I miss it?
I don't know, but I do notice that something that I put in the show notes has been removed. So we can touch on that before we move on to crowdfunding as well. Oh, I see. Somebody's put in this Linux gaming Reddit discussion on, I don't know what they're talking about the performance of, but people are talking about performance of something.
Performance of games on Linux.
I actually assumed it was Witcher 2.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought it was.
So I didn't mean to skip over it, so yeah.
I think personally, I've got a few games where the performance is perfect. Of course, that's not it's not the same story with other games, but that sort of comes with the territory of developers targeting Linux as a new thing to target. So
yeah, this whole discussion was on the PC gaming forum, not on the Linux gaming forum. So that was interesting to see kind of a broader group interested in to see how things are going on the Linux side.
I think if the developers want,
right.
they can absolutely get pure performance out of it. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's all down to the experience and the skill and the willingness to invest time that the developers have. Like, it can be easy to take shortcuts that may not result in good performance, and it's very difficult to compare the platform performance based on any given port, It's a tricky one.
It is.
And a lot comes down to the engines they're using, or if they're designing their own. But Valve's Linux gaming push is still relatively new, and the time it takes to make a game, most of the ports we've been seeing are ports that have been just Windows only, and they just said, hey, let's get it over on Linux, rather than let's build a new game on technology that works great everywhere.
Yeah, and that's an important thing as well. It's very difficult to make meaningful comparisons until there are, until Linux is a first-class platform alongside other things that you're trying to compare it to.
Yeah.
But something else that seemed to have found its way out of the show notes was Feral Interactive were asking on Twitter for people to tell them why they use Linux for gaming.
All right.
I have an answer for that. What's your answer?
My answer?
Yeah.
I mean, I play games on Linux because I use Linux. I don't feel like I specifically use Linux for gaming, or specifically chose to use Linux for gaming. What about you?
That's perfect. Nah, I'd say the same thing. I've been using Linux for 8 years. I do everything on Linux. Games just happen to be there.
Yeah, same for me, although I would add that I take a special interest in games because it seems to be an area that a lot of people say, oh, well, I can't go there because of games. So by promoting gaming and saying that, I really can do a lot of gaming stuff on Linux, then it kind of counters that argument.
I mean, I enjoy the fact that I can play games on Linux. It's just not really the reason why I'm here.
That's correct. That's the way I feel.
Oh, if there are people who actually go, I specifically want to use Linux so that I can game on it, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know if there'll be many people today who would feel that way, but hopefully...
The numbers are growing.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully we'll reach that point where people are going, well, Linux is the best operating system to game on, and yeah.
I think that if every game in the library was supported by Linux, at least anybody who games, I don't think, at least if that's all they do, I don't think they'd use Windows. It is my opinion. The reason I've been on Linux all these years is because pretty much anything I want to do can be done here. And when we talk about performance, not just in regards to games, but just overall performance, I find that I don't reboot as much. I can have much more on screen. I can work with a lot more. It's just better for me. So I would expect that when games fully, they fully do that migration, they come over, a true gamer will come with it.
Sure.
I feel like that.
Yeah, that's a good vision for the future. I'd like to see that. All right, we want to move on to crowdfunding now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
All right,
do it.
Pathologic. Tell me about Pathologic, guys. You've had like 10 minutes to look it up and read about it.
Something about a disease in a town, and you have to save people. That's all I really got out of it, but it does look interesting.
Yeah. Some of the concept art's kind of neat.
And there's Right from the Stars, which I do not know too much about.
Oh, I backed that. It was successfully funded. We mentioned it back in Season 2, Episode 16, which is a couple of casts ago. It's sort of a point-and-click adventure, inspired a little bit by things like Monkey Island and stuff. Spanish studios making it, and they got the funds they need. I think the crowdfunding campaign is just about to close, or has just closed. So yeah, great to see that moving forward. They got a demo up that people can check out if they're interested. Sweet. So, anybody else have anything they want to touch on?
Hexcel's Infinite.
I can talk more about Double Fine if you want. Hexcel's Infinite. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Absolutely.
Describe the gameplay for us. For anybody who hasn't heard of the game.
If you like Minesweeper, it's better than Minesweeper, and without the guessing. Every puzzle can be solved logically. This guy is a genius. I thought, wow. I could not believe how you can create these insane puzzles that, they look small and it takes maybe 20 minutes to solve, and it's a fun 20 minutes. And then they just get more complex there on out. But what he did with the last installment with Hexcel's Infinite just blew my mind. I mean, he put it's basically infinite now. I mean, you can generate numbers of puzzles that it'll take you 3,000, 4,000 years to complete, you know? I couldn't believe he did that. It's a wonderful game. If you want to get started with Hexels, the first installment's going for $1 and a penny right now on Steam. I'd highly recommend it if you like puzzles. It's perfect, and it works on Linux. It's beautiful. I love this guy.
Last time I got that excited about the game was Space Cam. I still got into that game. It's just amazing how it bends your mind.
You know, I never
What?
I just never really, it never really grabbed me. I played through a bunch of levels and I don't know, maybe 5, 10, maybe 15, but it wasn't enough to keep me coming back.
Ah, that's too bad.
I kind of wish it was, because it looks like it's got some interesting puzzle aspects that are challenging, and I like that. I appreciate that. I don't really know why it didn't grab me. I wish I did.
Well, I guess I've always been into the simulation style things where you set something up, run it, and then see what happens, and that's always intrigued me.
Yeah, I love that sort of thing. I love turn-based strategies. I can't stand Battle for West North, and I don't know why. It must be just irrational hate.
First impressions, I guess. Who knows?
I don't know. But, yeah. So, this has been SteamLUG Cast. Don't forget that you can steamlug.org/cast. You can send us feedback at cast@steamlug.org, and we definitely appreciate feedback. It's great when people tell us what they think of the show, so if you have any thoughts, do share them with us. Our hosts have been Nemoda.
Hey, have a good day.
Cockfight.
Thank you.
Myself, Cheese, and we've also been joined by a special guest, Mevious.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you to everybody for listening. We're done here.